Hello students, I'm Akshat, your programming trainer, and we are learning basics of computer programming level 1, and in BCP now we are learning unit 2. So in unit 2 what will you learn? In unit 2 you will learn arrays, functions, strings and pointers. These are some very common and very popular concepts in any programming languages just like C and C++ also. Arrays, what is arrays? What will you learn in this unit 2? Arrays, what is arrays, why we used arrays, how to create arrays and how to use it. Okay, in the arrays you should learn one dimensional and multi-dimensional arrays, array declaration and access in between with that, how to declare any array and how to access its values or elements, and the types of arrays just like using char array, int array, float arrays and double arrays, and any also variable length arrays, array initialization, unsized array initialization. And in the function part you will learn function basics, the basics of functions and the function prototyping and parameter passing recursive functions. And in the string part you will learn string declaration, string functions, array of strings, and the last and not least pointers, which is very important for your preparations of placements in the programming logic. So what is pointers in C and C++? Pointer basics, pointer declarations, how to declare a pointer and pointer operations, pointer arithmetic, assignment of pointers, comparison between pointers, pointers with arrays, equivalent between pointers in arrays, and much more. Okay, so now we proceed to unit and slide 1 of unit 2. So what is arrays in C++? Arrays in C++ are a very common and very frequent data structure in C++, which is very useful for your data management. Okay. So an array is a collection of elements of the same type placed in contiguous memory locations. It allows you to store multiple values under a single name and access them using an index. So just like that, in the first unit I told you what is meant by the variables. So just like arrays are also the variables, but it is used to store multiple values at the same memory location with the same variable name. In the variables you could store only one value at a one time, but in arrays you could store multiple values in the one memory location, but the values should be the same data types. Okay, and it contains the contiguous memory location in the memory. So arrays is nothing but the data structure which is used to store values in the contiguous memory location of the same data types using an index. And you should access their elements by the index. Now proceed to the slides. So how to create an array in C++ or C? So we can create or declare an array by simply specifying the data type first and the name of the array with its size inside the square brackets. So in the syntax you seen in the slide, you should write first data type of the array and the array name, and in the square bracket you should mention their size of array. You should, just like you have to create an array of integer array elements, you should write int and then array ka name just like arr, and in square bracket if you made the size of 5 you should write 5 inside the square bracket. It is the diagram of array elements, just like arrays are starting from index 0 to move from 0 to the size of array minus 1. Here is the array, the length of array are 5, so the index goes from 0 to 4, 0, 1, 2 and 4. So the name of array is arr, and the elements located in the index are 2, 4, 8, 12 and 16. These are the array elements. So declaration of array. You should create an array by data type, array name and their size in the square bracket. Int arr5 is the example of creating array of name arr of integers of size 5. This will create an array with the name of arr that can store 5 integers inside it. This is the diagram of an created 5 size array. Access array elements. How to access elements of array? So elements of an array can be accessed by their positions called index, because the array is a single variable name arr, just like that. So how to access their elements? So you should write the index of the element inside the array and access thereby index of that only. So in sequence we just have to pass this index inside the square bracket and with the array name. So if you want to access the elements of an array, so you should write the name of array and pass their index to access that value, just like arr array, so array name and then index. Okay, so in the diagram you write arr0, so this will indicate the zeroth element inside the array whose name is arr. And you should make, or you will make multiple kinds of arrays of data types: integer array, float array, or character array, boolean array, and many more. These are some examples of that arrays. Okay, variable length array. So what mean by variable length? Variable length might mean size of array can be determined at the runtime. So you cannot make the array statically or define the size statically inside the square bracket. You could or you should take the size from by the user itself. You could create the variable of the name just like that size here, and take it from user the size of array in the variables, and create an array by giving the size at the runtime. Array initializations caused by three factors: complete initialization, partial initialization, and unsized array initialization. Complete initialization, what mean by that? Complete means you should write the size of the array which is similar to the elements inside the array. Just like in the example, I write int a of 5 is equal to 1 2 3 4 5 separated by the comma. Here the elements are also 5 and the size of array is also 5. The array is fully filled. Okay. The partial initialization is that you made the array of size 5 but you put only two elements, so the remaining three elements or the indexes are the empty. And third is unsized array initialization. In unsized array initialization you could not mention the size of array, but you put and initialize the array by the elements, so the compiler automatically grab the size of array by the count its elements runtime. Multi-dimensional array, just like that we create an array in the one dimension, so the array goes from only x in the x dimension, but you could create array in the x and y dimension also, and the z is also. So it is a multi-dimensional array. Arrays declared with more than one dimension are called multi-dimensional arrays. Okay, the syntax of the multi-dimensional array is also same as the one dimensional array. Thus, like you increase the dimension, you should increase the square bracket with the size of that dimension. Here are the example of 2D array, two-dimensional array. It is an array that has exactly two dimension. It can be visualized in the form of rows and columns organized in the two-dimensional array. It's just like the matrix in the mathematics. You there This is the combination of rows and columns. Okay, just 2D array. And the topic is that functions in C++. So functions are very common and very popular topic in C++ and very useful in the programming of modularity. A function is a reusable block of code designed to perform a specific task. What I mean by that? You should write the code in the main function to do some work, but you should make the functions for that. So what is use of functions? You should code without a function, but function make your code easy and readability and reusability. Okay. It helps break large programs into smaller logical parts. Function make code cleaner, easier to understand, and more maintainable. Okay. This is some example of Here are some example of function. Just like you should write the preprocessor directive has include iostream. It is a C++ syntax and using namespace std. And this is the function definition. What is a function? The name of function is greeting and the return type is void. And between the empty parentheses you should write cout welcome to technocrats. It is a void function which is not return any value. Okay, and the parameter passing is null. And you could call it function in the main function. Just you write the name of function and close the parentheses. It is calling a function, then execute at a runtime. Function syntax in C++, you should write first the return type of the function and function name, then the parameter list and the body of the function. So what is return type? So it specifies what type of value the function returns. Use void if there is no return value. Okay, So your function could return the values after calculations of multiple variables. So your return type should be that what the value should return by the function. If the function is not return any values, so you should write void. Okay. Function name could be anything, you should write anything of that. Okay. Parameter list. Parameter list are the inputs you give to the function and function accept that in the body of parameter list. Function body is the body where you write your logic and code of function. What mean by function prototyping? Function prototyping introduces the function to the compiler. It tells the compiler the return type, name and parameters but does not include the body of function. And what mean by that? You tells the compiler what will be the name of your function and return type and the what the parameters are going in the parameter list, what the type of parameters and number of parameters you should write. You did not declare your sorry define your function inside that. You did not give the body of function, only declare with the return type and name and the parameter list type only. Just like there is an example of declaration just like that. I write int add int int, so it is a function prototype. I will make the function with the name of add and the return type should be int and it takes two parameters of integer and integer. So types of function based on input and return type. So based on their return type and what value the function should return and the parameter list, we will bifurcate functions in the four parts. First is no parameters and no return type. Yeah, what mean by that? The function performs a task but does not take input or return anything. Okay. What mean by that? The function no parameters and no return values. So function did not take any parameters from the user, or you should not pass any values inside the function, and the function did not return any values. Okay. Second is that parameters no return value. What mean by that? You should provide the parameter list to the function but the function did not return any values to the user or the main function. Nor parameters return value. What mean by that? You did not pass the parameters inside the function, but the function returns value to the main function. Parameters and return value. What mean by that? The function takes input and returns a result. You should write the parameter list inside the function takes the input from the user or the parameter list inside it and must return the values to the main function. So these are topics in the unit 2 which I completed in the presentation. So you should learn the function, the arrays and do some exercise for it. Thank you.